The world-famous Janssen brothers from Arendonk. Janssen brothers from Arendonk, a name where people still speak about within pigeon sport with a lot of reverence. The brother Janssens found themselves between the big ambassadors who carried out pigeon sport over the entire world. It began in the year 1872, the year that Henry Janssen was born. He founded the Janssen family of pigeons. Henry had his first pigeons in 1886. He was at that time better known under the name of Dreiske den Pauw. Henry married Pauline, who was born in 1877. They both worked very hard all their lives. Their marriage produced 9 children. 7 were boys and 2 were girls. Their names were Pons, Franz, Jeff, Vic, Irma, Adrian, Charel, Marie, and Lois. Henry was one of the original fanciers that founded the Pigeon Club in Arendonk. He was a top fancier right from the beginning. In the period from 1908 until 1914, he had very famous ace pigeons such as Het Blauwtje with 21st. Already that time he won some bicycles in the races. Henry was a quiet man who loved nature, and everything that had to do with pigeons had to do with the nature. Because of that, he was an enemy of winter breeding and also of the widowhood system. All these tricky things made him angry. With an endless amount of love and care, Henry used his eyes and his knowledge. With the help of the majority of his family, he built his own family of birds. Henry was only interested in the raising natural system, and in spite of the fact that sons built a widowhood system, it was never used as long as he was alive. Henry was very much afraid that the use of widowhood system would after a few years hurt the quality of his pigeons, primarily due to the fact that he would not able to test the race of quality. The hens you see, many of his birds were hens. After Henry's death, the son decided to continue the life's work of their father. In the meantime, some of the children were married. Those that remained divided the work amongst themselves. Adrian took care of the nest birds and the young birds. Louis took care of the breeders. Jeff did the shipping and the cleaning of the nest bowls, and the opening of the clock and the care of dog. Mother, Pauline, and Irma did the household chores and took care of all visitors. It was finally decided that Charel would take care of the widowers. Yes, after the death of their father, the sons started very carefully trying the widowhood system. At the first, only 4 cocks there were: the odd donker, the odd lick, the road, and the lick boss. They had forgotten the wise word of their father. They made sure that the natural system as well as the breeding was still first in line. Their lofts are 4 sections built on the attic. The young bird section and the nest bird sections are below, and above are 2 sections for the widowers. As soon as you enter the lofts, you notice how quiet it is. All the landing boards are on the southwest. There are also 2 lofts on the backyard. One of them is called the wren. This is where the old birds are breeding. The other one is built with an aviary for the widowhood hens. Notice that all raised sections are situated under the tiles that cover the roof of the house. Several tiles made of glass take care of providing the light inside the sections. Because of the fact that between the shelf from which the sections are built and separated, there's still a lot of room. You can say that the pigeons can take advantage of all the air that is inside the whole attic. So fresh air is always there. Many times the brothers have to remove the snow out of the sections. There is no need to close or open the ceiling in order to get more or less air for the pigeons. Those sections stay the same as they are, day or night, winter or summer. The brother tell us the most important thing is to keep the section as clean as possible. If that's done seriously, it's no problem to keep the birds healthy. Every time you enter the lofts, they are as clean as can be. No matter how many people visit in a day, they always clean once again before someone else is allowed into the lofts. The floor was always looked as as if you could eat from them. Once per week, they use the vacuum cleaner so that there's no dust in the lofts. And beside that, they regular take broom and brush to disinfect the lofts. Once every year, they have a big cleaning and they brush everything with the water and chloride after all the walls are painted white again. Before we go to this very important part of pigeon game, we ask the brothers what qualities they consider as important for a good pigeon to have. They say that the important things are the balance of the bird, a strong back, silky feathers, strong bends, a strong eye, a short back wing, the primaries not too wide, the last three primaries is possible the same length, a small tail. Extra important are the vitality and the courage of the bird. The next question was, how have you increased the odds of breeding these types of birds? Louis and Charles tell us, at first comes good performances and pedigree. We like to do some inbreeding. Nephew to niece seems the best mating. That's how we got the best results. The following things we tried never to do. Never mate two big birds together, otherwise you get chickens. Never mate small pigeons together or pigeons both of whom have deep keels. Also never mate pigeons together with so-called white eyes. As far as we are concerned, the vitality and the color must stay in the eyes, especially with furred eyes pigeon. One must provide to breed the color out of the eyes. The feeding of the birds is by the far the most important part. Most of the fanciers give their birds too much food. It is extremely important to feed the birds in a way that they always have their ideal weight. Their feeding schedule for the shorthand middle distance race is as follows. On Monday and Tuesday, very light grains. After that, bit by bit, some more energy in the food. And on Saturday morning, only small seeds. Carel gives an extra tip by telling that you must be sure birds when sheep do not have too much food, otherwise they get thirsty in the basket. The Janssen brothers mix their own foods. All kinds of grains stay separated in bags in the attic. And the daily they turn it by mixing it with a stick. The feeding time is adapted to the season. According to the Janssen, it's not important if you feed them at daylight or with electric light, but for them, they stay with nature as long as they can. Important, however, it is that the birds get fed always at the same time of the day. The birds get in the winter 31% corn, 38% barley, 15% wheat, and 15% beans. In the summer, 30% corn, 25% English peas, 27% wheat, 13% barley, and 5% beans. The secret weapon for the pigeons always get this water. One time a week, also a bathing water. In the bath water is always a big spoon of salt. The whole year long, the pigeons get on Sunday honey in the drinking water. Once a week, they give carrots cut in a very little pieces. The other vegetable they never give. In all the sections, the pigeons can eat vitamin minerals as much as they want. Also, grits with a spoon of salt mixed in. Pigstone they also give, but never on the day of shipping because otherwise birds would get thirsty in the basket. When the young birds are weaned, they stay for one day at the young bird section to get used to it. The next day, they are put outside in the landing board in order to have a good look around as soon as possible. This is done daily, as they think they will lose less pigeons from the loft when the young birds are too old before they get weaned. They often are lost from the loft because they go into the air and are not familiar enough with the area to come back down. On the first day, the brothers watch very carefully because sometimes they fly down or fall down and can't fly all the way to the high roof to get back to the landing board. The brothers breed themselves 16 winter bred and 14 summer bred youngster. All the birds are weaned in the section. The brothers don't think that it is the most ideal putting different rounds together, but they have no alternative because of a lack of room. When the summer breeds, are wind. They get extra food when the winter breeds are outside for exercise. They also have a problem when the winter breeds take the summer breeds with them to fly away. When the summer breeds just flown a few rounds around the loft, and when it's warm weather, Charel say that there is more chance that the summer breeds get sick. The young birds get the same mixtures at the nest bird. Only the corn is replaced by a popcorn, a very small French corn. This is only for the first week so that the young birds learn quickly to eat the corn. It is very important that the young birds eat all the grains. They give special care to the young birds because they are the future of the flock. Besides that, they try through contact with the birds to develop a friendship with the birds that will endure rest of their lives. The young birds are trained to come in with the referee whistle so that they rush in as soon as they hear the sound of it. It always when they feed the birds, this whistle is used. This way they call also the bird in when they return from a race. It's Jeff that can whistle the best. You have to be good to do it in the way of Jeff does, Karel said. Our Jeff can whistle the same as our brothers Jan did a long time ago. During the feeding, they touch all the birds one by one so that they get used to the hands of the fancier. They also try to get the birds to eat out of their hands for the same reason. Another thing that they do is talk to the birds constantly. The Janssen birds are so tame that they fly on the shoulders of their bosses and pick their ears. The brothers dislike shy birds. It is a joy to go to the birds because you can see that they like their boss. When you see the brothers take care of the birds, you notice immediately that they love their birds. The birds are allowed to fly until twice per day until the race begins. After that, they get trained together with the old birds. The training is no more than 3 times from 15 kilometers away. After that, they give 5 training tosses with the club at a distance of 38 kilometers. When the young birds are healthy and not heavily molting, they have to fly the whole young bird program. They like to raise young birds on the nest. As soon as they notice that there is a pair, they put a nest bowl right on the spot where the birds like to build the nest. If young birds race on the nest, they simply have to perform well. If not, they won't be there the next season. They say the young birds can also perform well on the perch. After the races, the birds have to molt very quickly. Late breeds don't have to go entirely through the molt. As regards keeping on the young birds that isn't raised, the brothers say that they hardly have ever to do the exemption, being only when a very good pair is getting old. They are afraid that they will stop breeding, then they keep on 1 or 2 youngsters from that pair in order to save the family line. Low flying should be given every day at the same time. The birds stay when there's fog, heavy rain, and snow. Long ago, they trained the birds very often. Charel brought them away by bike 20 kilometers and Adrian watched them coming home. Nowadays, the young gun, the old birds are only trained 3 times before they are shipped for the training tosses of the club. Pigeons that are trained later in the season, they ship all that kinds of club in the neighborhood where they have training tosses all the time. Charles thinks it is very important that the birds are watched when they come home from training toss in order to get them used to going in very quick after landing. If you can't watch them coming, put some food for them as soon as they arrive. The pigeons were raised in the clubs as well in the region. Many fanciers, being envious, were happy not to have them as competitors. The result of it was the Janssen brothers were suspended in 1954. That was a hard judgment against them. They were punished just because their birds were too fast. During the years 1960 to 1970, the cracks were born that are still in the pedigrees of the Janssen birds. Nowadays, the Mercs, Rocket, Sherpa, Kiloger, 019, etc. The pigeons that won enormous amount of the prizes in the year 1972. They became champion of Swaderkamp when the 17 prize out of 20 they could win as a maximum with pick birds. 2 birds on the top the shipping list. From 1976 to 1985, they won 31 times purse. All these prizes were won from the races between 240 and 350 kilometers. Only the birds that are in top conditions are good enough to be shipped, Lewis said. That's why we win such a high percentage of prizes. The Janssen brothers advised the following things: a very dry loft with a lot of fresh air, a good family of pigeons, everything at a time schedule, patience, learn how to raise pigeons, never force anything, watch your bird carefully, watch the balance, the wing, the head, and the feathers. It were only a few names of pigeons, called them if you like icons, that made the name of Janssen world famous. From 1945 to 1954, they won around 154 first prizes. The following years, they just went on the same pace with years of 30 first prizes and more. Their last big achievement was set in 1989 by Chantilly, Belgium BE 8961-50123, on a prestigious inter-regional race with participation of Belgian and Dutch pigeons out of the campaign, where this stopper with a lot of bravura won the victory against about 2,000 pigeons. After the death of Louis Janssen in April 2013, there came an end to the more than 100-year lasting meet from probably the biggest and unsurpassable pigeon fanciers out of the pigeon history. The brother Janssen didn't gain world fame only by their overwhelming results, but also by the dominant breeding value that their pigeons had. At probably thousands of loves worldwide, this reflected. Many fanciers gained world fame with themselves. Arendonk became the mecca of pigeon sport, and in memory of the glorious family Janssen, the reconstructed their living room and interior of the racing and breeding loft of the brother Janssen, Jeff Decimacher, from the factory Natural, Antwerp, became designer and owner of this unique museum. Fancier who had ever been in Arendonk can relive their visit to Arendonk over here. After the death of Adrian and Charel, they didn't raise pigeons anymore, and Louis kept about 23 pigeons from their strain on the lofts. To be able to meet the many questions for a youngster out of the Janssen pigeons, in April 2012, this last 23-year-old and 2 youngsters were being sold at the public auction, and the meet around world-famous strain of pigeons ended. That they still were very wanted could be told when you saw the average over 20,000 euro for many a true collector's item. This story isn't complete at all, but we did try to put the world-famous Janssen brothers and few of their celebrated pigeons in the spotlight, where they belong.